Hi everyone, I'm here to show you how to work your strips on your lovely jelly roll blanket. So I've got a little sample here. I'm working with a DK weight yarn just so you can see it a bit more clearly, and I'm just casting on 12 stitches. So I've got my first strip worked and I marked the right side of the work, and we do that just to make it easy when we bind off, just so we know which side to bind off on. So we add our strips from the front side of our work, and once you've done the first couple, it's obvious which is the front and the back, but for the first strip, having that little marker there is helpful. So I've cast on 12 stitches onto my needle here, ready for my next strip. So your first row, what we're going to do is we're going to knit to the last stitch. So knit to the last stitch, and then that last stitch we're going to slip knitwise. Okay, and now we're going to attach it to our first strip. So on the very first attachment, what we're going to do, I'll pop that down a second so I can pull this apart, is we're going to attach it by working through both legs of the V stitches that you can see in between your garter ridges. So the very first one is, here's your very first cast on, and then your first garter ridge, and it's in between here. So if you pull your work apart, there you go. Can you see that V stitch here right on the edge? And for the first attachment, we're going to work both legs of that V, but only for the first row here. So we go back to our needle, you pick up your first strip, just pull the work apart so you can clearly see that V there, and pop your needle behind both legs, and then we're going to knit that stitch. And then we're going to pass the slip stitch over that stitch we've just picked up. Like that. And now we can turn. And to work what effectively is the wrong side row, what we're going to do is we're going to slip that first stitch purlwise with the yarn in front, and then pull your yarn to the back. And what I do as I do that is I just snug it up a little bit and then pull it to the back, and then just knit to the end. There we go. So now we're going to turn our work. Now we don't need to move our first strip to do that. All you need to do is just move your needle like that, and we're back to the front side of our work. So now this is how, from now on, this is how you're going to work the entire strip right up to the top. So we're going to, as we did before, we're going to knit to that last stitch. Now what I always do on that first knit stitch to get a nice neat edge here is I always give the yarn a little tug. So because you can see that first stitch I always find is quite loose, so I give it a little tug like that and then knit it, and I find that really neatens up that edge, and it makes picking up your stitches, I think, much easier. Stops you having that sort of loosey-goosey look on your edge. So knit to the last stitch as we did before, and slip knitwise that last stitch. So now how we're going to attach it from now on is we're going to do the same thing, but we're only working through one leg, not both, as we did for that first row. So you can see here's our V in between the garter ridges. We're just going to grab that very edge sort of leg here, just one leg, knit it, and then pass the slip stitch over, and then turn, and your reverse side row is always slip that first stitch as if to purl with yarn in front, move the yarn to the back, snugging it up, and that snugging up I find just gives you a nice neat join, and just knit to the end. I'll show you one more time and then you can merrily jelly roll away. So again, to turn, we just can move our needle. We don't need to move our work. So and that's brilliant. As your blanket gets bigger, you'll find it's really easy and convenient to work because there's no moving of the entire blanket. We're just moving that needle back and forth. So again, front side row, at first stitch, I always snug up, knit to the last stitch, and then slip the last stitch knitwise and pick up the next one. So we can clearly see the one we've just picked up, and we're now going for the next one. So again, V-stitch in between your garter ridges, just one leg there on the edge, and knit and pass that slip stitch over. Turn. I'll work this row back again, and then I can show you the front side and how it's joining. So again, yarn in front, slip purlwise, snug up, move the yarn to the back, and knit to the end. And just turn your needle to get back to the front. So we can now have a look at what we've got. And you can see what happens is you get these beautiful slip stitches appearing here. It's like an elongated V. So on the front side of your blanket, you're going to have all of these beautiful V stitches working all the way up. You can see that first stitch that we joined here, this is the anchoring stitch, and this one sort of curves around, but once we add our border you don't see that at all, but that just anchors your blanket edges really well. So the front side is going to have all these beautiful V's, and then on the back side it's just really neat and smooth. So you can now carry on working all of your strips in exactly the same way, changing yarns whenever you please. The instructions are in the pattern exactly how I change yarns, and just giving you some other options just how to do that if you don't want to do it the way I do. So there we go. You can carry on now jelly rolling your blankets to your heart's content.